All right. Uh, as a bit of a fall camp preview, Spencer, so we know your next few weeks are wild and crazy and you'll be all over the place since we've got you tracked down here. And of course, the teams get to the field here in about 3 weeks. Let's start with the Oregon offense, which should be fun to watch unless you're an opponent. Loaded across the board. Tez Johnson, I consider to be the best. Big Ten fans are not used to looking at wide receiver rankings and seeing anybody placed ahead of Ohio State or any particular players placed ahead of Ohio State. But hey, I had the same analysis at wide receiver. Let's start here. Dillon Gabriel, Bo Nix. Make the comparison there. Do we, except for right-handed and left-handed, we're looking at decent enough arms, not elite arms, guys that are mobile, get out of the pocket, can extend the play. Seem like pretty similar quarterbacks, obviously, with a ton of experience as well.
I think there are similarities. I do think there are differences. I do not believe that Dillon Gabriel has the same upward potential that Bo Nix does. I mean, Bo Nix just had arguably the best statistical season in Oregon football history. I know Mariota won the Heisman. That's because Oregon won the Pac-12 and was going to the playoff. If Oregon beats Washington in the Pac-12 title game, Bo Nix wins the Heisman. So, he just put together that season. And sometimes I get pushback from Oregon fans when I say, yeah, I don't think he's as good as Bo Nix. I don't think he's going to have the same season because it sounds like I'm knocking him. I just am looking at Dillon Gabriel and saying, can he be the same guy he was last year? Close to 70% completion. He could probably be over 70%. Bo Nix was each of the last 2 years in Oregon's offense. Can he be 70%? Can he go for somewhere around 4,000 yards and 30 to 35 touchdowns and keep the interceptions down? Because if so, that makes Oregon a national championship contender. I mean, they went to a national championship game with Marcus Mariota. They also went there with Darren Thomas, who was nothing anywhere close to a Heisman finalist or contender, was just a good quarterback. And I think that's kind of how I view Dillon Gabriel, is he's a good quarterback. And I think there are point guard, ball distributor similarities between the two guys. Gabriel is smaller. I don't think he quite has the arm that Bo Nix has. Both are mobile. I think Nix is a slightly better athlete and certainly is a harder guy to bring down in the pocket because he's much bigger than Dillon Gabriel, who is a small guy, which doesn't mean he can't be good. We've seen him play over the course of his career. He's a good football player. But I think that for Oregon, the rest of the team around him has to be better than they were a year ago. Because Bo Nix, would have games where he'd go for 300 and then 400 and 350. And I don't expect Dillon Gabriel to do that. I think the defense sometimes might have to do a little bit more, though they were great last season. And I think the running game will have to be consistently there. And it was for the most part a year ago. But I just don't expect Gabriel to have a bunch of 350 plus or 400 plus yard games. I think if you look up at the end of the year and say, yeah, he averaged throwing for 280 to 290 yards a game, and he threw 35 touchdowns and 7 picks and completed high 60s, low 70s in terms of his completion percentage. I think that's all Oregon needs to contend for a Big Ten championship.